Yeah, I'm wearing the same black shirt and I'm in the same garage. Well, this is see, I reacted with a lot of anger when it comes to these people who say let's treat Islam equally like every other religion, and they're saying things like Obama and Hillary Clinton have a lot of wisdom in not calling out radical Islam. And there are articles on CNN in which they write there's a wisdom behind it because Trump is making this huge deal about calling radical Islam as it is and saying, you're a coward if you don't do so, you should resign, that type of deal. And there are people out there, I didn't know this at first, but there's a wisdom behind what Obama is doing, what Hillary Clinton is doing, and not completely calling out the problem of radical Islam. But my take on this is that I see where you're coming from, but I just don't think it's effective because where they're coming from is that they don't want to start, a civil war. They don't want to start, dividing the people. They don't want to, separate the Muslims and Americans, in which I applaud them for that effort. But I just think that there are too many radicalized Muslims that just don't respect us. They don't respect America. They don't respect what we stand for. And let's look at the teachings of the Quran. Let's start with the first surah. The last part of the first surah says, "Ghayrul maghdubi alayhim waladdallin." Whatever, if I didn't get the pronunciation. I'm trying to forget Islam as much as I can now. But okay, like this verse from the first surah, the last part of it is saying that do not lead us astray like the Christians and Jews. And wait, before the Muslims say that's not the translation. It says, do not lead us astray like those who earned your anger and those who went astray. And when you read the tafsir, the understanding of this verse, it says the Jews and the Christians. The Jews are the ones that earned Allah's anger, and the ones that went astray are the Christians, because that's the Muslims' philosophy. They think the Jews, they disobeyed Allah so much, God, that they earned Allah's anger, by not wanting to obey God. And the Christians, they're all about their emotions. So they just do whatever they want to say Jesus is God, and they're all emotional about it. They don't really use logic. This is what the Muslims think when you study Islam. You also have verses that say Allah, or the Christians and Jews will never be pleased with you, and you also have verses that say, Allah will never help those who take the kuffar as allies, meaning the Christians and Jews. You also have the awliyat verse, taking others as allies, as awliyat, protectors and helpers. There's a lot of isolation in Islam. Like there's also the hadiths that say, trim your mustaches and let your beards grow. Be different from the polytheists. Be different from everybody. So in Islam and its nature, I appreciate, Muslims that are good people. Like Majid Nawaz, I see his effort and I see sincerity. Like just now he released an article that said, admit it, Muslims are the terrorists. And I applaud him for that because I want the door to open up for Muslims who want to integrate in America and respect other people and other cultures. I just think that there are so many bad apples out there in the Middle East that have grievances. They have grievances about Iraq. They have grievances about Palestine. They don't like the Jews. They think the Zionists are always up to something. They have these grievances, and I'm not defending them. I'm just naming what they have grievances about. They think that the Muslims have always been screwed. This is their mentality. And this is why whenever a terrorist attack happens in America, they tend to just say, oh well. They kind of say, oh, that's unfortunate, but oh well. And they kind of move on with their day. There's really no real grievance from the Muslims. They might post a Facebook picture or a blog picture saying, oh, I'm sorry that happened. But that's about it. They're not looking to change the attitudes of the Muslims. because they have these other grievances. They're thinking in their mind, well, look at, how America tries to pin everything on ISIS. It's so not true. They try to make Muslims to look like the bad guy. Fuck you, America. This is their mentality. And it's just got to change. It's got to change for the better. You've got to be more open. You've got to be. You see, Islam in its nature, in my opinion, I just think it doesn't leave room for cooperation with people. Yes, you had peace treaties back then, but look at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, in which Muhammad just kind of took over Mecca. You can debate all you want. There was a complicated situation, but when it all comes down to it, when you look at Muhammad's message and the nature of Islam, it looked to dominate with Sharia law. It didn't look to integrate like other religions. Other religions, they adopt secular values because their religion doesn't call for that. It doesn't call for, someone to conquer. You see what I'm saying? Like you look at Buddhism or Christianity, Jesus was a hippie that died on a cross when you look at it. Muhammad, on the other hand, was someone that, hey guys, we're going to fight war. There's a surah called The Running Steeds, Surah Al-Adiyat. It's a surah about them marching on their horses. You see, it's a different nature. It's a different type of way of life. If you don't do this, if you don't eat with your right hand, Muhammad said in a hadith that he cursed the man who doesn't eat with the right hand. It's as simple as that. There are certain things that you have to follow in the Sharia, or else you're going to pay for it. This is the nature of Islam. You don't have this in other religions or ways of life where they punish you for not following that. You also have derogatory things about the kuffar. The kuffar are this, the kuffar are not clean enough to be in this certain area. We have to expel the Christians and the Jews from the Arab Peninsula, in Mecca and all that kind of stuff. There's an isolation aspect of Islam, and I think Muslims need to realize that sincerely. And other people that are, saying that Islam should be treated equally. Look, you're not allowed to have gay clubs in Muslim countries. You're not allowed to have even churches or freedom of worship in certain Muslim countries, the ones that are practicing Islam. I'm not just talking about the ones that have mixed governments and things like that. The ones who actually follow the Sharia and, apply Islam. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. So for those that may have been ignorant about all of this, listen, if you want to just say, oh, it's the second largest religion in the world and, we should all sing Kumbaya and treat it equally, you don't know when Islam takes over. There are actually hadiths that say, let's push the Christians and the Jews to the furthest part of the road when we take over. No, we're not going to allow churches and synagogues because we want them to come to Islam. When they pay the jizya, the tax for the Muslims, they must go on their knees and pay it. I'm just talking about the text of Islam here, okay? The original text. So as far as, and if you go against what Muhammad said, you're a kafir. If you want to change what Muhammad did, he's the perfect example. The Quran is the perfect word of God. So when you add all of these things up together, Islam is totalitarian. There's no change. Granted, there are Muslims that do want change. That's the good news. That's a good thing. They won't justify it with text, but they'll share their opinions that they want change. I'm a Muslim, whatever. I'm sort of a free spirit. I'm open-minded. I want to integrate. I want to accept gay people. I love those Muslims because I know that they're better than their religion. I know it. So this is a sincere message from Introverted Smiles. Sorry if I took long. I just wanted to express this. I see where you're coming from when you don't want to just say, oh, there are Muslim terrorists out there. We have to call out radical Islam. I see where you're coming from. I do. But do I think it's the smartest move? I don't think so, because I just think that the radical Islamists are going to take advantage of that. If you don't call them out, they're just going to take advantage and get their revenge as they see fit. So the point of it is to get Americans aware, and Muslim Americans aware about this problem, so they can recognize it too. Because what happens is that new generations are coming, and they look at, let's say this is going to be the first terrorist attack, the exposure to a new Muslim in the new generation. They're just going to look at this this is the only terrorist attack I've seen, personally. But there were so many more in the past that we have to make them aware of. So that's my opinion. Let's call out radical Islam. Doesn't matter if you're liberal, doesn't matter if you're conservative. We have to address the issue, so we can call it out. But that doesn't mean that you go around treating all brown-skinned people and Muslims like trash. Or you see a hijab and you treat them like trash just based off that. I don't believe in that. So thank you guys so much. I hope people see the sincerity.